No matter what type of aircraft you are flying, you need to make sure it is airworthy and safe to fly before you leave the ground. An organized procedure helps you check the systems and equipment in the airplane. This procedure is called the Preflight Inspection. Regardless of how many times you perform the pre-flight, always use the written checklist provided for the airplane you're flying. This step-by-step procedure ensures that you examine every item and the airplane is ready to fly. This program is designed to give general guidelines to follow during the pre-flight and engine start. Keep in mind that pre-flight procedures can vary among aircraft of the same make and model, and obviously between manufacturers. Start your inspection in the cabin by checking to see all required paperwork is in order, including the airworthiness certificate, registration, FCC radio station license, the pilot's operating handbook or the approved flight manual, and weight and balance information. Set the parking brake to ensure that the airplane will not move once the wheel chocks and wing tie-downs are removed. Next, remove the control wheel lock to free the control surfaces for the walk-around inspection. This will also expose the ignition magneto switch and avionics power switch so that you can check to ensure both are in the off position. It is important to note that the engine could fire if the ignition magneto switch is in the on position and someone moves the propeller. Turn the master switch to on. If a split rocker switch is installed, turn the battery side on to use the power to check the fuel quantity indicators and to listen for the sound of the avionics cooling fan. The indications of the fuel gauges should correspond to the actual fuel level you will check later. Once you have noted the fuel levels and verified the operation of the fan, lower the flaps and turn the master switch off. The fuel selector valve should be in the both position. By moving the selector slightly to the left and right, you should feel a detent position, which indicates the valve is in the proper position for flight. Check the baggage door to confirm that it's locked. As you move toward the tail section, inspect the general condition of the fuselage, looking for abnormalities in the skin, such as wrinkles or loose rivets. Also make sure all antennas and access panels are secure. Inspect the stabilizer surfaces for general condition, looking for dents, wrinkles, and loose rivets. Examine the control surfaces on the tail, checking for freedom of movement and security. Then, check the control cables for excess play and loose or missing safety wires. Check both sides of the control surface attachment points for loose bolts and apparent damage, and remove the tail tie-down. Continue your walk-around as you inspect the remainder of the tail section. Check the right side of the fuselage for imperfections and damage. This also provides an excellent opportunity for you to visually inspect the top surface of the wing. Next, inspect the right wing flap tracks for security and wear. Moving outboard to the wingtip, inspect the aileron hinges for security, wear, and freedom of movement. In addition, check the aileron pushrod for damage and security. Check the wingtip for possible damage and security. Then, inspect the right navigation light. Check the leading edge of the wing for dents and other damage. Inspect the attachment points of the main landing gear for dents or wrinkles. Visually check the tire for wear, cuts, abrasions, and proper inflation. Examine the hydraulic brakes and brake lines for security and leaks. With a fuel strainer, drain a few ounces of fuel from the quick drain to check for sediment, water, and any contaminants. Also, note the color of the fuel to confirm it is the proper grade for the airplane. This check should be accomplished before the first flight each day and after refueling. Some airplanes have a fuel selector quick drain and an additional fuel line quick drain located on the bottom of the fuselage. Both should be sampled and checked for sediment, contamination, water, and proper fuel grade. Remove the fuel cap and make sure the level in the tank corresponds to that indicated on the fuel gauge. The fuel cap on the right wing is vented, so visually inspect it for damage and obstructions. Then carefully check the general condition of the wing surface. During winter months and in cold climates, make sure the surface is free of frost and snow accumulation. As you move to the nose section, ensure the windshield is clean and check the general condition of the cowling. Look under the nose section for fuel or oil leaks. Check the oil level to ensure the quantity is sufficient for the flight. Keep in mind, the Pilot Operating Handbook specifies a higher minimum amount of oil for extended flights than it does for short or local flights. Pull the fuel strainer knob for several seconds to clear the strainer of any possible water and sediment. Ensure the knob is full in and closed. With the cowling secured, continue to the propeller and spinner. Carefully inspect the propeller for defects, such as nicks and cracks. Look into the inlets to make sure they are clear of obstructions. Check the alternator belt through the air inlet. Visually check the condition and ensure that it has the proper tension. Verify the landing light is intact and clean. Then examine the air filter to make sure it's clean, secured, and not damaged. Check the nose wheel tire for wear, damage, and proper inflation. Also, inspect the condition of the gear strut. Make sure the static port, located on the fuselage, is clean and unobstructed. Check the left main landing gear and drain a few ounces of fuel from the quick drain to check for sediment, water, and any contaminants. Then inspect the fuel quantity and the left wing in the same way as the right. An additional item to check on this wing is the pitot tube. Make sure the opening in the front of the pitot tube is clean and free of obstructions. An important part of the fuel system check is to make sure the fuel tank vent is open. This vent relieves pressure and allows fuel to escape from the tank during hot conditions. It also prevents a partial vacuum from forming as fuel is being used. Another important item to check is the stall warning detector on the leading edge of the wing. It should move freely and be unobstructed. You can test the warning horn by turning the master switch on, lifting the detector, and listening for the horn. Examine the left aileron and the flap for damage, wear, and freedom of movement. If you find a problem during the pre-flight, have it checked by a certified maintenance technician before you fly the airplane.